Hello and welcome to the Internet of Things Made Simple. I'm Larry Bohumer. This is a mini episode, and as a reminder, mini episodes are topics that we definitely wanted to talk about because they're timely and important. However, they were kind of caught in between. They're too long to be an open segment, but they don't justify doing an entire episode, so I'm going to release them as an individual topic. Today we're going to examine how IoT data, often unwillingly, is being used against people in a court of law, and that's both civilly and criminally. We're going to cover 3 different examples that were in the news of when IoT data was used against people, and then I'm going to offer a bit of discussion or thoughts on each of the cases. The first example involved Alexa, but it could have easily been any kind of personal assistant. The question the courts want to know is, was Alexa listening when Christine Sullivan and Jenna Pellegrini were killed in Christine's home? An Alexa device was a few feet away from where they suspect the murder happened. The court has ordered that Amazon needs to turn over any possible recordings from when the murder would have occurred until the bodies were found a couple of days later. This is the second time that Amazon has been involved in a murder case. However, they're not even sure if there's going to be anything to listen to, because in order for an Echo to go into listening mode, it needs to be prompted by a word, like Alexa, computer, Echo, or anything else that has been programmed into the device. More importantly for me, though, it kind of brings up an important question. What is the responsibility of a tech company to turn over information? This was brought up when Apple refused to unlock the phone of the San Bernardino killer, and a lot of people were on each side. Many people were saying that there should be ways for law enforcement to get in the back door for this kind of information. Others were saying while they agreed to that in principle, what happens if that loophole or backdoor entry gets into the wrong hands? And that's a great discussion. The way I look at it is that I'm kind of also caught in the middle. If you don't have anything to hide, then what's the concern? But I'm also concerned because if there is going to be a loophole into an iPhone or an Alexa or any other kind of service, you know that hackers are going to find it. So we have to be really careful when we put these kind of demands on tech companies. The second example we're going to cover is something that I've written a blog post on, and that's the wide proliferation of license plate readers. It's not new, reading license plates. Police officers, when they're driving around, many of them have OCR, or automatic readers, that can actually recognize license plates and run checks on them. So the thinking is that if you're in a parking lot or on the highway, your license plate is not secret. And I think most of us are okay with that. The other point is that IoT is often used to monitor traffic, and most people agree that that's a good use of IoT technology. However, this is a little different. In this case, the DEA, or the Drug Enforcement Agency, is using license plate readers as part of an overall plan to try to target certain areas that are known to be used by drug traffickers. Again, I think most of us don't have an issue with that because the vast majority of people aren't in the drug trafficking trade. However, what's to stop this information from being gathered for many other reasons? Sure, if there's a warrant for somebody, I don't think most of us have an issue if it's being used for that. But what if it's being used for deadbeat dads? What if it's being used for other things? Where do we draw the line on where we want this information to be used? And shouldn't there be such things as a warrant? I think a lot of us don't care. And that's probably why it isn't much of an uproar. The theory of if you're not doing anything wrong, what do you have to worry about, does play in here. And if you think about it, most of us post way too much information on social media anyways. So all aspects of our life are definitely being monitored. The same goes for things like our credit cards. We don't mind that our credit card company, to a certain extent, is tracking the usage of our credit card, because that's how they check for fraud and keep us safe. We also don't mind giving up information about our web traffic to Google in exchange for getting things like Google Maps. So I think a lot of people just believe that privacy is somewhat dead anyways, and because I'm not doing anything wrong, what do I care if they're checking my license plate all the time? So it's something we're going to have to see. The third example has to do with smart home and device data, and this also came from the news when it was revealed that information from a Fitbit device was one of the main evidence being used against Anthony Aiello, who was charged with the murder of his stepdaughter, Karen. In this case, it actually wasn't Anthony's Fitbit, it was Karen's. And very interestingly, it revealed that her heart rate spiked during a time that it was known that he was in her home. And then her last heartbeat, or her heart rate stop monitoring, occurred before it was known that he left. So they believe that the murder took place while he was in the home. We'll have to see how this case turns out, but there have been many other cases, especially personal injury and crimes like sexual assault, where Fitbit and other devices like it have had data that's been subpoenaed and used against the customer. As I mentioned, the data could come from many sources. It could be the perpetrator's device, it could be the victim's, it could also be smart home technology, things like Ring doorbells and their videos, perhaps a garage door being opened. These are all things that could actually reveal data about a possible crime. Now, what should be your expectation of privacy? When you send information up to Fitbit, it's private information, and in some cases, as these devices get a little more sophisticated, like the new Apple Watch, you're going to start to see it cross over from basic information about your body into things that become healthcare records, like your blood pressure, like your EKG results. What should be the requirement for law enforcement agencies or civil cases to access this information? Another question is, how does it differ from a court getting an order for a video camera feed? So does a garage door opening and a video feed differ really all that much? They're both going to provide information. So it does make me wonder, should you worry about this? Again, if you're not committing a crime, you probably have nothing to worry about. But at what point are we going to be crossing over to where we are invading people's privacy? And how willing are we to trade privacy for convenience? This is going to be a more important question. As we push forward IoT, you're going to have more and more devices onto the internet that are going to be recording data that could be used against you. Should you expect this data to actually be kept safe? It's an interesting question. And the last thing is, where could we go with this data? I referenced the Minority Report, which is a great movie, by the way, many times. For those of you who aren't familiar, I don't want to ruin it for you. You should watch it, but it talks about the ability in the future to predict crimes before they even happen. And that makes you wonder, could we be going down this path? If you think about all the data that could be gathered about people, and with the ability to crunch data the way that we're now able to do, and will be able to do much more in the future, could we actually start using artificial intelligence to prevent crimes from happening, especially very serious ones? It's a very interesting idea. We'll have to see where it goes. Perhaps that's going to be a future podcast. I hope you enjoyed this mini episode. I look forward to having you listen to our next episode, which is episode 4, coming up in a few days. Thanks for listening. I'm Larry Bohumer.